I'm not quite sure what I'm going to see here, but this is an ERAD video that's 25 minutes long, and you know I love ERAD if I'm going to watch a 25-minute video. So let's check out what he's got in store for us. He says, what is gaming's mega project trying to achieve? Star Citizen. Let's check it out. Let's see what his opinions are. I always dig ERAD's videos.
Star Citizen is a game that gained the reputation of trying to achieve everything while taking forever in doing so. And it is true that the least that we can say about its development, and this is coming from someone who has been a backer of the project since November of 2012, is that it has indeed been a bumpy ride, especially at this moment when the developers at Cloud Imperial Games are trying to stabilize their pillar piece of technology, persistent entity streaming, which is going to make every consequence of player actions ever made persist. More on that later. That being said, more than 10 years have passed and well over $500 million have been collected for more than 4 million backers, and yet the game is still in alpha phase with plenty of promised features that remain to be done, and this raises the following question. What is exactly Star Citizen trying to achieve, and what is it going to take to achieve this vision? This is what we are going to talk about in today's video.
All right, I'm down. I'm down for this. I like this. I like this topic.
Hi, I'm Yorad, and thank you so much for choosing to watch this video. And so today we will take a look at the direction where Star Citizen is going, or at least is trying to go. As mentioned in the introduction, the game has been in development for over 10 years now, and in the eyes of people who may not necessarily be following the project, its development and everything it involves might understandably be difficult to grasp, which is why I am making this video with the aim of giving the best possible explanation to the widest possible audience. So please stay until the end, because this is going to be a lot to cover, and this is also going to be a long one. Also, if you like my content, please don't hesitate to hit the subscribe button and like the video, as it is the best thing you can do to help it gain some traction. You may also share with your friends if you think that they might learn something from it, or also join me on my different social hubs such as Twitter, Facebook, Discord, Instagram.
Boo! Boo! Boo!
Get to the point, ERAD. Speed it up a little bit. Constructive criticism. Just, I know what you're doing, dude. I know what you're doing. I'm on to you.
Or Daily Motion to expand the conversation. Alright, so the latest thing that Star Citizen has achieved by the time I'm making this video is full persistence, which is a tech that the studio is calling persistent entity streaming. And with the release of Star Citizen Alpha 3.18, we will only have the very first iteration of the tech, which is planned to undergo several upgrades, which will then make it robust enough to record and render data of player-generated content for as long as it does not get modified in-game.
That's the best.
This is where Chris Roberts, the founder of the project, likes to come in and talk about his coffee mug, which he would drop in the forest only to be able to find it exactly as it was.
Lots of water bottles
at the same
everywhere
place
you go now.
several days later. Now, that is one of many possible examples one could think of. For example, we could think of a player who would stash some stolen goods to wait until his situation cools down a bit. A few days later,
there needs to be some NPC janitors. Like, I'm noticing bottles like everywhere. Listen, there needs to be some type of NPC cleanup going on. There's a lot of bottles everywhere I go. The cities are littered with bottles. Right. We need janitors. We need tech crew. We need NPC to start stepping up their game. Stop stepping on chairs. And we need NPC to start actually doing their jobs. NPCs, it's time to do that work.
once people would have given up on finding the stolen goods, the thief would return to his stash and find his stolen items. That is, of course, if no one would have found them before his return. This also applies to mineable resources, which would remain where a player would have pin-pound them, or wrecks, which would remain until they would eventually decay and slowly become one with their environments. Of course, such persistence may seem like a common feature in a single-player sandbox game, but Star Citizen aims at being a massively multiplayer online game with a live service, and the tech to offer this level of persistence for a live service game is just something that has never been achieved before, making persistent entity streaming a major technological breakthrough, a breakthrough that, believe it or not, is just a pawn in the grander scheme that is the development of Star Citizen, because the reason it is being developed is because it happens to be a prerequisite to the next major tech that needs to be developed to make Star Citizen a reality, and that technology is server meshing. So, server meshing is, on paper at least, the ultimate piece of technology that's missing to make out of the Star Citizen vision a reality. The goal of server meshing is to allow for a seamless transition of data from one server to another. And by data, this includes your character, your ship, your ongoing mission, your inventory. Basically, everything that you would bring with you would have to be transferred into another server without you or the people with you or around you realizing it. It sounds insane, impossible, and it is, or at least it has been, but it could not always be because, as I am writing these lines, work on making server meshing a reality for Star Citizen Alpha 4.0 has already started, and I wouldn't be surprised if Cloud Imperial Games would show us an early working prototype this year during the CitizenCon demo.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I think they have to. In fact, that's a really good point that Erad brings up. I think it's kind of like paramount that they do, at least by the time this end of the year. I think there needs to be some work shown. Also, Tony Z needs to get on, talk about Quanta a little bit. We need some more economic info. I'm shaming Tony Z every morning stream. Sorry, Tony, but you need to get on and tell us what's going on, man. That shame goes out to Tony Z. I don't want to shame Tony Z. It's Tony Z, for God's sake. But, like, that needs to happen too. Good point, Erad. Good point. Oh, will we? Okay, great, dude.
At first, server meshing is only going to be realized in a basic iteration. It will only be able to mesh a server containing an entire stellar system, Stanton in this case, with another one, Pyro, that we have been waiting for 3 years now. The reason why they need server meshing to deliver the Pyro system is because one single stellar system is already too much for a server. Right now, with Star Citizen Alpha 3.18, servers already get saturated over time, especially as players spread across the Stanton system, which causes lower server frame performance and inexorably leads to the server's downfall, leaving players to experience the all-so-rated Error 30,000 or 30k, which makes them lose their recent game progress and forces them to restart the game client. With server meshing, that should eventually become a thing of the past, because that tech will be accompanied by what Cloud Imperial Game calls the replication layer, which is...
I like it. Look, our audience is very educated here. Fingers calling it out. We talked about this on that 10 pound 42 video about 2 weeks ago. You guys remember we were talking about this? It's a great talk. Go check that out. It's on the channel. It's good stuff.
It's going to replicate the data of your game character and transfer that data to another server. That is how your character will transfer from a Stanton server to a Pyro server, but it is also how your character will transfer from a dead Stanton system to another fresher server, which should effectively eliminate the hindrance of experiencing a server crash. But server meshing won't just allow for the implementation of new star systems. It should also allow players to interact with far more other players than they currently can, and that again will be thanks to the replication layer that will come with it. What this will allow will be the replication of another player's data from another server into your server. For example, you could find yourself in a situation in which you could be attacked by a player, but that player would be in a different server. The replication layer would then tell you that the player would be there, that it would also shoot at you, and as you would fight back, the data you would send to your server would be replicated to the other player's server, where they would in return see you fight them back. This is how Clan Imperium Games are hoping to have shards or instances where thousands of players would be able to interact with one another at the same time, and this is how Clan Imperium Games envisions future large-scale battles to occur, because in the future, servers won't just be limited.
This is also how they plan on having these large fleet battles and being able to man these very, very large ships like we're seeing in the Bengal carrier right here. This is also one of the reasons it's going to help with player cap and a lot of issues that we're going to have to eventually solve. And we're at that point right now, which, by the way, you know, I have to applaud that, because like we've been waiting to get to this point for a very long time. We're smack dab in it. Our face literally has hit the wall with this, and work has to be done. Rubber has to meet the road, and we have to start seeing some type of progress here, which is why I think Erad's opinions that we will see some type of information on this happen at the end of the year. I think, again, that needs to happen. That needs to happen.
Limited to containing an entire star system. A server could be a planet, a sector in space, a city, a district, a building, or even a capital ship. We could therefore find ourselves in a situation when a fully crewed capital ship would be placed in a server and then would seamlessly be fighting another fully crewed capital ship placed in another server, while fighters would be dogfighting outside in a third server without anyone realizing that they would be in different servers. And that technology is going to help the studio multiply the location players will be able to visit
Absolutely,
too.
absolutely.
For example, thanks to server meshing, buildings will potentially be their own servers,
Right.
which means that the developers will have the chance to create their interiors at a scale that has never been
it's
seen
the scale.
before. Buildings
Sorry, I'm muted. I had a lot of really good points right there. Apologies. What I'm trying to say, what I was saying, because I was muted, I got it, is this is the time, the point at which you're starting to see like people getting really upset about these things, because we're at the point where everything's hitting. And so this is why you see the kiddos get upset, because they don't understand game development like Erad and I. They don't get this is going to take time. This is happening. This is monumental. Like what is happening with Star Citizen has never really been done in gaming at this scale ever. It's not been done. So I always laugh, you know, at the impatience of the kiddos when they start yelling about this type of thing, and they're doing it for the clickety clacks because they don't understand game development. This has not been done on this scale ever. I see a lot of comments too of people that just don't understand game development. They're like, "Oh, this has happened many times before." No, no, it hasn't. And what they're trying to do is give us an unlimited experience, an unlimited gaming experience. This is why I call this game the everything game. It's going to give us the persistence. It's going to give us no player cap at all. And people just don't understand how monumental that is. They don't get the scale of this. They don't understand what's trying to be created here.
will be filled with habitation space, office space,
It's not
recreational
basic.
space,
Like
such as restaurants.
what we're offering here, Exploder, what they're trying to give us is what we want. We wanted it. We asked for this. We don't want player caps. We want unlimited experiences. We want to be able to man these large ships. You know, what game has that? What game has that on this level in an MMO style format? I would say none, not to the level that we're seeing here in Star Citizen. So like, you know, I get that you understand what's happening, but like, it's going to take time to get to get what we want out of this. You know, it's going to take time to get what we want out of this, because this has not been done at this scale ever before, ever. In a way, what Cloud Imperium is doing or attempting to do is revolutionary. Like if they can do this, it will change gaming forever. Explode says that doesn't matter. The game needs to get to a point it runs right and plays well. Hold on a second. Let's play a sound effect. This is why he's named Captain Explodo. I like it. This is why I love Explodo. He's just listen. He's just like, hey man. Listen, my biggest gripe is the physics grid. Always has been the physics grid. needs tons of work. I want to get the physics team on. I want to talk to every single member, and I want to ask them about what is going on, right? I have that grape. I have my moments, like Explodo. At the same time, what's happening here has truly never been done before. I don't even think attempted.
Or shops, but also production facilities, which will be quite useful to make out of ArcCorp the factory planet that it is supposed to be. And why just stopping at the landing zones we currently have? Server meshing will also allow Imperial Games to multiply settlements at will, allowing for the creation of minor cities or villages scattered across the entirety of a planet's surface. As mentioned earlier, server meshing is also what will allow the studio to integrate up to 100 star systems into the game's universe, each system potentially being its own server, which leads us to the next thing Star Citizen is trying to achieve, the creation of an entire explorable universe made up to 100 star systems. As I am making this video, it is true that the idea of Star Citizen featuring 100 star systems for us to explore seems ludicrous at best. After all, the game has been in development for over 10 years at this point, and we still only have access to only one star system, Stanton, while the second one, Paro, is quite close to be done, and the third one, Nyx, is still on the way. However, it is important to keep in mind that just like they did for Space Station, or what they are doing for building interiors now, the developers have spent their time creating tools that will allow them to procedurally generate entire star systems with just a few clicks.
And there's also other systems that are done that they're not showing us under the covers. We talked about that last night. There's a lot of work they just aren't going to show us. A lot of work tied to Squadron 42 that blends right into everything that we're playing in the PTU and the PU. You know, there's a lot of work that we are not able to see because why would they want to do that? You know, they're showing us things behind the curtain in little pieces and parts because they don't want to give away the whole ball of wax. You know, but there are other systems that have been developed. We talked about this many years ago when we saw Terra's layout, and we got that leak. We know they're working on other systems. It's all happening, and like Erad says, these tools that make procedural artifacts, rooms, generation planets, procedural generation of environments. These things have been developed, and because of this, they're able to work faster on this. So all this work is actually happening right now. There's a lot that we're not able to see, that they're not going to show us, that everybody is not aware of, and thinks just because they're not seeing it that it doesn't exist. And again, Erad and I know it's there. We know that work's there. There are some other content creators that are very affluent with game dev that know that it's there, and that Cloud Imperium they're not showing us, you know?
And they would have to finalize them manually with some additional main art to give them some flair.
God, yes,
but
I
it
hope
shouldn't
so,
take them too
well, we
long
saw that they are actually developing that on a couple
once server machine is out.
Weeks ago when we watched Inside Star
Citizen. The most time-consuming assets to make are the landing zones because they feature unique buildings and architectural styles that help them distinguish a world from another, like for example what we will see on Terra, Centauri or Tengagora. However, not every star system is going to feature such elaborate landing zones. In fact, some star systems will not be inhabited at all, and will be quite boring for most players, and these are the systems that we can assume will come out quickly. The other systems that may release soon after Paro could be those that we will see in Squadron 42, the single-player campaign.
Regardless, I think the physics grid is directly tied to what we're seeing with PS, what we're seeing with server meshing. A lot of the times I bitch about the physics grid, but I think it's tied into other tech personally. Otherwise, why would it be taking so long to get that smooth gameplay that we all want? I absolutely agree with you, Explodo. I want those experiences too, man. I think that all of us do. You know, when it comes to there's so much jank, you're moving around the characters, elevators. My God, dude, I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. That does need to be worked on, but I think it's tied into other tech, man. And I think that's why we're having the issues that we're having.
Based in the Star Citizen universe. Now, we don't know when Squadron 42 will release, although there are rumors that it could be for 2024, but we know for sure that the campaign does take place in the
3.18.1.
Odin system, so we should see Odin released in the Persistent universe by the time Squadron
Great video
42
so
is
far.
out.
I love it.
There are also signs of a small portion of the game that could take place in the Vega system, so Vega being released with Squadron 42 could be a possibility as well. So, having 100 star systems sounds fantastic, but what are we going to do in such a gigantic game universe? Sure, we'll probably have access to some of the generic missions that we have right now in the game. We'll definitely be able to trade, as trading is expected to be one of the main sources of emergent gameplay, with players mounting pirate ambushes to seize riches from merchants, while those merchants will then hire escorts and crewmen to ensure the security. But what I think will provide the most interesting form of gameplay in all of those systems will be player-owned properties, because yes, players will be able to acquire and manage different sorts of properties in Star Citizen in the future.
Also, we saw a lot of Mongrel gameplay last night, which was pirate gameplay. If you're not familiar with Mongrel Squad, where pirates are actually starting to, be pirates in the game. The pirate gameplay is becoming more legitimate. They're able to take the cargo now. They're able to take the booty and sell the booty. They never used to be able to do that before. So, there are steps being made forward. Progress is happening. You can take this game a year ago and then you compare it with what we're playing now, and there's tons of progress that isn't being acknowledged by any of the content creators whatsoever. That's one thing. When I saw the gameplay last night with Mongrel, I said, wow, great. Pirates finally getting legitimized. Pirates able to actually be pirates in the game. That's not something we had a year ago. Ask any of them. Sorio's here right now. He'll tell you. He'll tell you to your face. He'll be like, nah. He is like, I just pretended I was a pirate till now. Now, actually, there's some pirate gameplay, and they can actually be what they want to be in the game, and that's great. It adds the danger. It adds the spice. People are going to start having to have more escorts. Escort organizations have more legitimacy as well. So, where you see people when they're saying, oh, God, this is terrible. Mongrel's coming after us. Now I got pirates everywhere. At the same time, you got people who are industrialists or people who are creating businesses like the escort business, and they have more legitimacy as well. So if you're worried about it, you can hire an escort service, and they will, be careful, it can get really pricey.
The most basic of properties players will be able to own will be habitation modules, or a house. This is where players will be able to store collectible items they will have as souvenirs from their adventures in the verse. It will also be a place where inventory items will be kept, because in the future, a new inventory system will replace the one that we currently have, which currently spawns and despawns the item that we use.
Always want more, dude.
In the future, everything will be physicalized and will need to be stored somewhere, and a player-owned habitation module will just be that. However, players certainly won't be able to store everything in their houses, and items like a cargo container or a ship certainly won't fit in those, which is why players will also be given the opportunity to own their own hangar, which Clan Imperial Games have been selling since the very beginning of the project back in 2012. If you look at your ships in your web hangar page, you will also be able to see that each ship is associated with a hangar that you will own along with a ship. Now, whether players will have just one hangar per ship or one hangar for all still remains to be seen, but
it'll be one hangar for all. It'll be one hangar for all.
One thing for sure is that Clan Imperial Games have been working on them for quite some time, as they have appeared on the roadmap for quite some time now. Of course, further down the line, players won't just be limited to owning a house or hangar, but it was also confirmed in an episode of Inside Star Citizen about the upcoming resource management system that players will be able to own production facilities. As of right now, we don't know what these would be. We know that it will be possible to own ships that will be able to refine materials at a small scale, but eventually we'll be able to do that with our very own production facilities. In fact, we've known for a very long time that we'll be able to own a production facility. Clan Imperial Games even sold some land claims many years ago that are going to secure their owners an exclusive ownership.
There's going to be a whole new wave of this as well. As they start working on the Habs and the Pioneer, as they start working on these particular types of ships, land ownership, It's going to become really important once again, and you're going to see another wave of land selling. It's another revenue. It's another revenue stream that hasn't truly been tapped into, but you're going to start seeing it as we go to this future and it becomes a reality. You will see a whole nother wave of land sales. The revenue that they're going to get from that is going to be off the wall insanity. I think it might come close to ship revenue sale. That's how crazy I wish that this would get. I really wish and hope that they bring that in. I actually am hoping that they make a lot of money from additional land sales. When they will do it again, as this becomes more and more of a reality, you're going to see more of these lot claims, and they're going to come again with another wave, and I think it's going to be rather huge.
Over a certain area of land on a planetary body of their choosing. In an episode of Inside Star Citizen dedicated to resource management system, we saw some assets made for ground-based refinery, and Jared Huckabee did imply that one day
This is a funding model here. This is a revenue model that's just sitting and waiting, that hasn't even been truly tapped into. You know, land ownership hasn't even really been tapped into. You know, they got a little piece of that early on with the beacons, with the land beacons, but this is something that this is going to explode. Like, the amount of revenue they're going to make from land sales, ridiculous. It's going to be ridiculous. Okay, this is just speculation here, but like, I would imagine that the land sales moving forward are going to come at least 20 to 30% of what the revenue is from the ship sales. At least 20 to 30% of the revenue. And it might even get closer than that. It might even eclipse it. It could possibly eclipse it. Land, in my opinion, owning land and the ability to claim that land is really more valuable than the ships. You know, like, buying the ships are great, right? But having the land to put ships into or on, that's where it's at, man. And perhaps land sales will eclipse ship sales.
they will be able to own such refineries. But why stopping at refineries when there are so many other commodities that can be produced in the verse, such as food, liquor, steams, medical supplies, and probably weapon, armor, ship components in the future as well. However, these land claims probably won't be limited to the ownership of production facilities. Players will also be able to transform them into homesteads, which at some points could act as their main residence in the game. And that will be done with the addition of...
And I think that they're going to further develop the land ownership. Tripal brings up a good point. He says, but if you can't dispute land claims like by fighting, then it's pointless. So I think they're going to zone out areas that are very safe in UEE space. In the future, they'll have to revamp this. This again, speculation. But I'm going off of my experience with game dev. What I think they'll do is they'll start to split up lots that are higher priced in UEE secure spots that you're not going to be able to touch. Okay, these are like safe spots. And then they'll have land claims that are based out in outlaw space, and they'll be cheaper, but they can be contestable. And that's how I imagine it. And so, you know, I'm not quite sure prices. What do you guys remember what the beacon prices were? I can't even remember I never bought one, but do you guys remember what they were selling those land beacons for? I can't remember, because I honestly think they could get more money out of it. Like, you know, if it's only, was it 300 and 500? That makes more sense. Like 300 and 500 makes more sense. You know, was it 70? I think they could do so much better than that. 60 and 120, 4x4 and 8x8s. Okay. Ash, Ash has pretty good. When Ash puts some facts down in there, I listen to Ash. He knows what's up. He's my go-to guy for the info. That's why I super mod Ash.
Habitation modules. They will also be able to buy and sell resources there too.
They'll up it
and
after they watch this.
That will be with trade terminals, and will probably also have the ability to store cargo and ships.
Is it 3 and 5?
I believe
that makes sense.
These will be done on the ground.
What's going to happen though is when they reintroduce this and they do this again in Beacon Phase 2, is they're going to up prices. They're going to up prices. The people that got in first, they made out. You know, look at the gray market. You have crazy increases. You have six-fold increases. You know, imagine you bought a shit ton of beacons and now you're selling on the gray market 6 times what they're worth.
Yes, sir. You're not gonna hate me. Yes.
Respectable. 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 Better than NFTs, Gator. But yeah, it is in a way like an NFT, right? What is an NFT anyway? It's like it's ownership, right? In a way, this is like NFTs. Like you own the land. It's just in a different format, right? You don't own it in a wallet though.
Last but not least, players will be able to run space
Don't get
stations
sketch
too.
talking about this.
Unfortunately, we were never told that we will be able to build our own station, although that would be awesome. However, Chris Roberts did say on multiple occasions that at some point he would like to allow players to fight for the control of a select number of space stations. Such space stations would also a pledge goal back in the days that appeared during the extended funding campaign, but have yet to be materialized with a concrete game experience. However, we might very well see such stations as early as in Star Citizen Alpha 4.0 and the introduction of the Pyro system, where we know that there will be some abandoned rest stops as well as a number of derelict stations. I think that it's really important to pay attention here to the wording because abandoned and derelicts are not the same. A derelict station would definitely be a useless ruin, but an abandoned station would still be functional with working equipment and therefore could be of some value to an org that would be interested in establishing a strong presence in its sector, a little bit like what the Night Elves are doing around Yela with Grimex.
Right, Erad.
For
Good,
player-owned
dude.
property
I
to
like that
become
you
a
said
reality, there is another feature that needs to be finished and that Columbia Games are working on as I am making this video, and that feature is the resource management system. To make it short, the resource management system is what will manage every resource in the game. It is what will make an asset consume energy to operate. It is what will make an industry consume materials for production. It is also what will determine if an asset is powered or functional based on its state or the state on the item that it depends on. It is also why the resource management system will open up the way to new professions such as engineering or mechanics. Not only will players have to make sure that their bases or ships will be in proper condition, but they will also have to repair them if not. I suspect that the resource management system will also play a key role with the abandoned stations, especially when it comes to being able to make them operational again or even sabotage them to take control of them. There is definitely going to be a big emphasis on engineering gameplay as shown in a recent episode of Inside Star Citizen, and a good knowledge of how the resource management system will probably be key to being able to keep or gain control of such a sought after facility. Of course, one may be wondering at this stage what would be the point of all of that. Why would players even want to control a production facility? And that the answer here is the dynamic economy that Chris Roberts and especially Tony Zurovec have been planning since the very start of the project, because at some point the economy of Star Citizen won't just be about buying X commodity at X price and then resell it at Y price somewhere else. In the future, we will be able to manufacture these commodities just like how we can mine now and resell the ore after refining it. And at that point, thanks to a tool that Tony Zurovec has been creating for years called Quantum, all of the game prices will depend on the supply and demand of the game. And this
part scares the shit out of me. I talked about this in 2014, man. If we can actually simulate, if we can have Quanta simulate player-driven supply and demand, it will be a miracle. Like, I just hope to God. I'm very skeptical about this area of game design. You know, player-driven supply and demand, right? We see that in EVE Online, and I absolutely enjoy the economic gameplay out of EVE Online, or at least used to before Pearl Abyss abused the system when they bought it out, took it over, introduced infinite supply sources, fake metrics, and it ruined the economic gameplay of EVE. A lot of people are playing it, don't even realize what happened and what Pearl Abyss did. They're still playing it and thinking it's the old EVE Online. It isn't. EVE Online's original concept of design in terms of the economic gameplay was brilliant, crystalline, perfect. If somebody needed something, somebody had to make something. If somebody made something, somebody needed shipped or traded or sold to make that profit. It was supply and demand in its very base, beautiful form, with a market that was bar none some of the most fantastic, best gameplay I've ever had in terms of economic gameplay. And this scares me, man. I hope they can do it. I really do, but I am still very, very, very skeptical about this.
This is where things get really interesting. Say you have a facility that's producing stims, for example, and you are the only one in your planetary system making stims. Stims will be in high demand, and you'll be able to sell your production at a high price. Now, say several other players decide to also build a steam production facility at the same area. Supply becomes far higher, and then the demand collapses, as well as the prices too, and business becomes difficult. What do players do then? Well, they try to reduce the Steam's production, but of course not theirs. This is where the resource management system would be perfect to sabotage a competitor's production by cutting their supply lines or even infiltrate them to ruin their physical components. As you can see, everything is at some point going to be linked. The resource management system, the facilities, the economy, all of that will be made to work in symbiosis and make what the Star Citizen universe is one day going to be. The other notable aspect of Star Citizen that really makes it stand out from other games is its visual fidelity. Star Citizen aims at being as photorealistic as it can be, and this has often come at the price of performance, as low frame rates have often been one of the main reasons people have been complaining over the past couple of years. Well, here again, progress is being made, especially with the latest update, Patch Alpha 3.18, which completely updates the graphics of the game thanks to the implementation of...
I'm not quite sure what year that was. I don't think so, Explodo. I don't think so, but I remember hearing something about that. No, I don't think I was involved during that particular point in time. You know, one of the things that really is the hardest thing to do in a player-driven economy in the game world is to keep a balance and police it. You know, exploitation is your profit. Like, this is the thing I want to get through to people in the marketplace, whether you're trading, and we'll stop talking about this very shortly. I know people don't have the patience for talking economics, but I do want to say something. There's a lot of people that get worried. Let's take an example here, like an EVE Online. Say you're in a 0.0 system, which is basically no security whatsoever. It's free. It's like dangerous space, right? Some of the things in 0.0 space, depending upon where you were at, were like crazy ridiculous in price. But you have to factor in the fact that somebody took it out to that very dangerous place. So there is a premium on that price. And a lot of people looked at that premium on the price and they said, well, that's just exploiting. Those people are just exploiting. But, you know, true economists, they would tell you exploitation is the profit. So if you went out to this 0.0 space and say perhaps a railgun was like 2 million and it should only be 16,000, right? People would go, well, this is bullshit. Why am I paying $2 million, 2 million ISK? Why am I paying 2 million ISK out here in 0.0 space for a very basic railgun, right? Because it's 0.0, mofo, and this trader was the only one that went out there and did it. If you don't like it, don't buy it, right? That exploitation is called profit. Industrialists get that. Economists get that. Traders get that, right? If you don't like that price, then here's an idea. Become a trader and bring a railgun and then compete with the guy and sell it at a lower price. But the problem was most times in EVE, it took forever for another price to hit, and it took forever to get that competition unless you were in Jita or Delta or, you know, anywhere in Sync Liaison. Like, if you were in those areas, there was so much competition that the prices were always low, and that's why you went there for those items. But people didn't realize that way out in 0.0 world or low sec world, they called that exploiting. And they said, oh, well, this shouldn't be the way that it is because they were babies. They didn't understand that there was a whole economic PvP happening under the covers because perhaps they weren't playing it that way. God damn, I don't know if you're playing EVE Online and you weren't playing it that way. I would say that you're playing EVE Online wrong, but I won't, don't let me overstep my bounds right now. But see, that's where the line blurs and people don't get what's really going on, right? So that mentality carries forward to other games because the kiddos, they don't get it. They say, well, this price is way too much and I don't want that to happen in my space game, so it better not be in it. And so that's why the developers, when they're going about making a game, they say maybe we should institute some type of artificial supply and demand to get rid of that exploitation. And that's how it starts. My opinions.
Gen 12 renderer. But Gen 12 is just an intermediary step because there are massive changes to come in the form of Vulkan, which is going to focus on how light
that's
is
interesting,
being
Explodo.
diffused
Yeah, I'm not
throughout
talking
the game,
about that, but I get
and
that.
even further down the line, a potential VR virtual.
Yeah, I wasn't referring to your comment there, Explodo. I get that. That's just like war games, right? Exploitation wasn't how they broke it in the case of EVE Online, what Captain Explodo was referring to. He says the opposite, actually. Care Bears sat in a high second and manufactured without risk and put no value on their time, so the price to build a battleship was less than buying it. It went upside down. Yes. There's nothing worse than that as an industrialist or somebody who's manufacturing, and you're manufacturing the goods and you're getting the lowest cost minerals like your isogen or your mex or whatever it is, the pyrite, that's the trit, all those items that you needed to make the items in EVE Online. And you sat there and you looked at your bottom line costs and you said to yourself, wait a second, how the fuck are they making this Hyperion for this price? Because it's lower than the costs to make it. Oh my God, Exploder. Yes, that drove me crazy. There needs to be a way to police that. Now that's what I want policed. And that's actually a good argument for having quantum, for having that artificial simulated supply and demand. So very good, Explodo. Very good, dude. Very good there. I love my fans. I love them. Give them some applause. Explodo hit me from the back. Explodo hit me in reverse. What's going on, Nate? We watched your video this morning. Welcome to the stream, dude. Welcome to the stream, bro. It was funny. We loved it.
Reality support following that, due to the fact the developers in charge of the graphics of the game are themselves big virtual reality enthusiasts, something that they have said on multiple occasions. Spectrum
it could,
is
Gator.
another
It could
element
take it the
of
other way
Star
too,
Citizen
though,
that is going
Gator?
to change in the future. Right now, it's
Yeah, we
either
did.
a holomap prop at Area 18 or a forums platform on the official
was pretty
website
funny.
robotSpaceIndustries.com. But eventually, it will be dynamically integrated into the game, meaning that it will be possible for someone in-game to browse the forums or the live chat and read or post while also traveling in quantum space, for example. And that would be very interesting because travel time in Star Citizen can be quite long, and having something to do during those trips or long periods of time would make these travel sequences far less tedious than they currently are. Last but not least,
that tedium will go away once the game gets more towards a finished state. Like flying in and out of atmosphere should take a very long time. Personally, all this shit should take a long time. It's a natural filter against kiddos that want instant gratification. It's against the people that like the Fortnite. It's against the kiddos that want that fast-paced kill action that, you know, it's great. Trust me, I'm all about that too. But like in this particular game, I want the experiences to take a long time. And I think more as we get closer to the finished product, there's going to be that really cool time where you're sitting in a ship planning out a battle, right? That you really want that time. You know, there's going to be moments in time where you appreciate the amount of time that it takes to get to point A to point B. You know, we need that in our games. Like I always want that. I don't care. Like, yes, sometimes it gets tedious and I bitch about it, but like I understand the importance of why it's there. It might not be clear to a lot of people right now, but I think as the game develops and gets towards that finished state, we'll see the reasons why.
we could also finish this video without talking about gameplay as well, right? What we'll be able to do in Star Citizen. Well, right now there are already quite a few gameplay loops available. Sure, they are nowhere their final state, but they do give us an indication about what will come later. As of Star Citizen Alpha 3.18,
Absolutely,
players
Chip.
can
Absolutely,
train,
dude.
do combat in
I want the
space,
most
or
realism
also
I
on
can
foot.
have in this
They
game.
can also explore, they can mine, they can be a pirate, they can salvage, they can hunt bounties, they can do deliveries, they can be a medic, they can race, they can
Sage,
infiltrate
right.
facilities, they can
Investment
even
of
pick up
time.
trash. But in the future, in addition to production facilities, players will be able to also transport passengers, tow ships, lay or pick up mines. They will be able to build bases, and I probably forgot something there, so if I did, please let me know in the comment section.
Like Ebrad's saying, like every career path that you pick is going to have some type of element of danger to it, some element of reward versus risk. Like even like for ships like the Genesis Starliner, which people were talking, or the Genesis, what is it? It's the passenger ship. It's the Genesis, right? Like people were saying, well, what are you going to do with this ship? You're going to take it and you're going to ship NPCs and people to different planets, right? So even in a passenger kind of jet scenario, right, space jet, you're going to be in a situation where there might be danger depending upon the system where you're ferrying people back and forth, but you're going to have the ability to make that cash if you want it. You know, and that's the beauty of this game. It's like you can take your time and pick whatever career that you want. This is why this game's fascinating to me, man. You know, that time, that investment of time, that's your choice. Like how you want to spend it, how you want to use it. What's going to be best for you and your outcome? Are you in it to make the most creds per hour? You're going to find the way to do that in this game, right?
Down below. As you can see, the ambitions of Star Citizen is not just being a space sim. In fact, we can have a really great time in Star Citizen without ever going to space at all or even fly a ship. What's
right? That's a great. Look how Erad's thinking. How about hostage situations in Genesis? You take it, you hold everybody hostage until the pilot pays you like a percentage of whatever it is that he's getting paid on the trip. Like how much you getting this for this mission to ship these NPCs back and forth? You better give me 50% of that. Erad.
Season tries to be a comprehensive universe
thinking.
simulator in which everyone will find something to do that they like, and all of that being in a seamless experience without any loading screen and with thousands of players around you. The scope of the project is truly spectacular, unlike anything that we have seen before, which is why it takes a lot of time to, sometimes too much time, as some people would say. But that is the heavy price to pay to one day being able to roam in a comprehensive universe that no other game company has ever dared creating before. And it is also the reason why the project has the support that it has had, gathering over $500 million in crowdfunding. And mark my words, I wouldn't be surprised if by the time Cloud Imperium Games finally releases a 1.0 version, we would have reached the $1 billion mark, given how much there is to be done still. With that comes the end of this video. A big thanks to you if you have made it until the end. I do not normally make scripted videos this long, so if you enjoyed it, please like the video as well. It really helps a lot with the channel. Also, if it made you feel like trying Star Citizen,
I'm gonna like that. Let's go over there and help him out. How many views these guys on this? Oh wow, good amount of likes. 174. Still needs a lot more. You know, I never know what this algo is doing. 174 likes and he only has 2,000 views on this. The algo makes no sense. There's no algo, dude. It's just YouTube helping out those that make him the most money. Let's go over there and help Erad out. Go over there, check the link out. Go like, go subscribe if you're not. He's a good friend of mine. I always have his back. Erad's awesome. Love you, dude. Great video, dude. And also, we should have a moment to honor our fans here. Let's have a DG360 spotlight moment. Oh, I like this one. This comment from Lou Cifer. That's Lou. I love this dude. Lou Cifer says DG has to be the coolest SC commentator on the tubes. I'd buy this man a beer or a whiskey in a thermos. Whatever he prefers, everything. Cheers for all the content, DG. You are welcome, Mr. Cifer. Thank you for being so nice and honoring me with such kind words as I honor you in the DG360 Spotlight.